Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're exploring the distinctive writing style of the immensely popular Stephen King, and why so few film and TV interpretations live up to it. We all know that the King of Horror is an overall literary legend. The astonishingly prolific Stephen King has earned almost unparalleled success across many genres, formats, and media. He's also an avid film buff with deep ties in the industry, and yet, many don't realize how unflattering most screen interpretations of King's work have been. The duds are overshadowed by gems like Brian De Palma's Carrie, Rob Reiner's Stand By Me, and Frank Darabont's The Shawshank Redemption.
Let me tell you something, my friend. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane. It's got no use on the inside.
Incidentally, one of the most celebrated takes, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, is one of King's least favorite. That says a lot about how hard it is to capture his highly experimental and dense storytelling style. Let's come at the King to see why there are several dozen cinematic misses to his name.
Hate.
Yeah. Sweetheart? What's wrong?
Narrative scope. The most obviously challenging Stephen King trend can be spotted by the spine of a book. He's notorious for writing extremely long novels on a relatively short timeline. Under the Dome, It, and the uncut edition of The Stand span over 1,000 pages. Many attempts to compress only slightly shorter epics into standalone films have done them a disservice. Where the 1979 miniseries, Salem's Lot, had two 90-minute episodes to flesh out its layers, the 2024 feature adaptation is stripped down to a generic vampire and spook house flick. Even more egregious were the takes on Needful Things and Desperation, which each covered around 700 pages in around 2 hours. It's no wonder these films were criticized as disjointed and convoluted.
I hear you, boss. What's wrong?
West, Ely.
Boss.
About a mile and a half.
RV done.
Boss.
Beyond his pedantically detailed writing, King often places world building as the true focal point of narratives. He also knows the importance of emotional investment in such unforgivingly imaginative lore.
It's all right here.
Paul, you can't!
Deep storytelling.
Your father's a thief. Over the last 6 years or so, he's stolen more than $14,000 from that marine supply company he works for.
What sets Stephen King apart from many genre writers is that he has something to say and wants you to care about the people saying it. Hailing from the small town of Durham, Maine, he uniquely approaches ensemble casts as communities of complex individuals. Their subplots often represent morality, mortality, and the very natures of humanity and fear, with vivid descriptions of psychological tension. So, many adaptations that loosen pathos feel heavy-handed and hollow. With 1987's The Running Man, pathos is thrown out entirely to capitalize on Arnold Schwarzenegger's campy action stardom.
Hello, cutie pie. One of us is in deep trouble.
The film's critics, including King himself, see this as a fatal flaw in the story's core commentary against violent consumerism. That's nothing compared to 2017's catastrophic The Dark Tower, based on a series consisting of 8 king-size novels.
Your shine burns so brightly, Jake. You have potential I can't even begin to understand.
After just over an hour and a half of clunky exposition and incoherent action, nobody was interested in any sequels. Maybe it'll work better as the TV show long envisioned by developers, but there's no guarantee. Film versus TV. Given the scope of King's storytelling, it's natural to assume that it works better on TV. And yet, for all his disdain for Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, a 1997 miniseries that King wrote himself was heavily panned.
What would it want you for, Danny?
Because of The Shining. That's what Dick calls it.
It's less about telling the whole story than about having the adequate production values and subtle nuances to translate the material properly. Why even bother remaking Carrie and Children of the Corn as small screen features? But when ABC made It and The Stand in the 90s, they were blockbuster events praised for their ambition and concise, character-driven writing.
I don't know how many different ways I can say this. the so-called super flu does not exist.
It eventually hit big screens in the late 2010s in 2 parts, coming out longer and more acclaimed than the miniseries. Paramount Plus's The Stand, on the other hand, was more fixated on spectacle than cohesive character and plot development. CBS's Under the Dome and Audience Network's Mr. Mercedes showed that there is virtue in loosening adaptations to develop the finer points across multiple seasons. Despite HBO's The Outsider also achieving pause, it seems that no amount of dramatic and artistic breadth can sell certain supernatural twists. Genre bending. King shouldn't be strictly categorized as a horror writer. Even within that genre, he often uses more fantastical elements as metaphorical complements to grounded drama.
We were hired as a cleanup crew, not as exterminators.
Even if filmmakers can logically plot the often drastic shifts in genre and tone, viewers must ultimately be able to buy the new direction. Take Frank Darabont's The Green Mile, a jarringly spiritual prison drama that is seen as a masterpiece by some and bloated cheese by others.
Mostly I'm tired of people being ugly to each other. I'm tired of all the pain I feel and hear in the world every day. There's too much of it.
Everyone agrees that Lawrence Kasdan's Dreamcatcher was rendered inaccessible by its blend of character tragedy, telepathy, and alien invasion. All in all, it's a daunting task to replicate fans' subjective experience with King's experimental style. It's daunting even for King.
And comfort you, and lift you up, and give you peace. Amen.
King behind the camera.
All right, Bubba, tickets went up your home sick.
In 1986, Stephen King made his directorial debut with a loose adaptation of his short story, Trucks. Who else could be trusted to pull off a filling station being besieged by sentient semis? But even with a comedic tone, Maximum Overdrive was almost universally panned, earning King a Golden Raspberry nomination for Worst Director.
That's what you're doing?
Yeah. That's what I was doing before every machine in the world went into maximum overdrive.
He himself disowned the film as a byproduct of his severe substance use struggles at the time. King saw firsthand the difficulties in writing his work for the screen, but went on to self-adapt Pet Sematary, A Good Marriage, and Cell to crushing reviews.
Hello?
Kid.
Even the original scripts for Sleepwalkers and Rose Red were fundamental messes. If Stephen King can't successfully adapt Stephen King, then who can? The reliable interpreters. King's work has been translated by renowned directors like David Cronenberg, John Carpenter, and Pablo Larraín. The results have been mixed based on filmmakers' willingness to compromise their personal aesthetic. Tobe Hooper and George A. Romero found hits in Salem's Lot and Creepshow, only to bust with The Mangler and The Dark Half.
I'm gonna write the ending, George. Is it gonna be your ending or mine?
As selective as King must be with the filmmakers he trusts, some have built careers on adaptations, such as the case of Mick Garris, and even the director of The Stand is responsible for making The Shining, Desperation, and Bag of Bones for TV.
Compared to the dullest human being walking on the earth, the most brilliantly drawn character in any novel is nothing more than a bag of bones.
Rob Reiner and Frank Darabont delivered outright masterpieces through Castle Rock Entertainment, named by Reiner after the fictional town in several of King's stories. But Stand By Me, Misery, and The Shawshank Redemption are more about human drama than fancy genre bending.
You have the right to remain silent. If you give up the right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law.
More recently, Mike Flanagan has been called the Stephen King of horror cinema for his dramatic and philosophical motifs. He turned the short stories Gerald's Game and The Life of Chuck into high-concept triumphs, while making a sequel to The Shining that finally satisfied King.
I can make you an offer. An offer I rarely make.
Oh yeah? I can't wait.
Though Dr. Sleep was indeed acclaimed, this raises questions about what the author actually knows about good movies.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
questioning the king.
You have the slightest idea what a moral and ethical principle is, do you?
Stanley Kubrick's intensely abstract and atmospheric interpretation of The Shining is considered one of the greatest horror films ever made. But Stephen King was livid about the liberties taken in his work, particularly the nihilistic reduction of a central conflict between good and evil.
There are other times when I feel as though I'd given Stanley Kubrick a live grenade and he heroically threw his body on it.
His praise of Brian De Palma's more faithful Carrie was more consistent with the glowing critical reception. In fact, King said the film was even better than his debut novel based on his creative style. He also sided with the consensus that Darabont's tragic twist ending for The Mist was more satisfying than his book's ambiguous conclusion.
Come on! Come on! Come on!
King understands that the key to a good book-to-screen adaptation is logical reconciliation between the source material and the filmmaker's vision. For almost 50 years, his Dollar Baby program licensed his short stories to film students for just $1. King admires film and the general flexibility of art, but as he rarely has a kind word about adaptations of his work, and as infrequently as they've succeeded for audiences, his own art isn't very flexible off the page. How do you feel about the track record of Stephen King adaptations, and why? Give us your interpretation in the comments.